relationships are not absolute. And often we go through life and we wonder, why are we stagnant in a relationship? Either they're stagnant, or they are evolving and this is the direction we want, or they are just deteriorating. So in this satsang, we're going to look at how relationships, they are so rich and they fulfill our life. What are we going to do without relationship, especially love relationship, and relationship with Mother Earth, the animal, and even the relationship with the divine, with God. But how can we move forward in life, in our relationship, especially the love relationship? There are 7 secret insight that are not the typical common one. How to heal, how to grow, and how to revive your love relationship, especially love relationship. And the biggest problem with most people is when you agree in your life, it's like you take a good look at your love relationship and it's like a lot of people suffer unnecessarily. Beloved, don't you agree? Suffering, pain, and sometimes struggling and not understanding why you're stumbling with terrible pattern in all your relationship, but especially love relationship. And by the way, what we're going to address in this Divine Satsang is, it pertains to all relationships, but specifically the love relationship. So the first insight is, love is who you are. It's about your sweetness of emotion, your disposition, your attitude, but really about your true nature and how you are generating your own biochemistry from within. Most people think, and maybe let me ask you that question, in your love relationship, who do you think is responsible? Write it in the comment section. If you said you think it's your partner or both of you, it's not necessarily true. First of all is, we ourselves are completely responsible for our life and our relationship. And so the biochemistry you generate from your own being, from your thoughts, your words, your energy, your action, your volition, generate this aura about you, this disposition, and even your own attitude. But ultimately, in the yogic tradition, we always say that we are Satchit Ananda. This is our true divine essence. Sat, ever eternal absolute truth, ever consciousness, infinite bliss. It's omnipotent, omnipresent, so Ananda for bliss. So this is our true nature. So if you look at yourself, how you're managing your own inner divine garden, this is the question you have to ask yourself. Because love, it's never dependent on an object. Of course it helps, object, subject, you expressing your love for an object, but our true nature is divine love and is Satchit Ananda, divine bliss, divine love. And so this is the first insight that most people don't look at in their relationship. They're always pointing out at the partner why it's not working. And that doesn't mean there is no specific things happening. Is that the reality we all are responsible for our own life and especially our relationship. So the second sacred insight is about transforming your energy. Most people, sincere seeker, don't look into those things. Some, of course, generally speaking, but how do you transform your energy? What is the energy about you? Because If you transcend what we call the pranamaya kosha, your pranic body, which is your entire energy about you, you making also a distance from your mind, and you transcending also your mana maya kosha. Those are envelope sheets we have discussed in previous Divine Satsang. And they're very important because they are in the subtle body. And so in love relationship is when you are, you know your divine gardener. You know that you need to transcend those two sheets, your energy body and your mental body. We could call it the mental body too. You don't, you're not so compulsive anymore. You're not even compulsive. You live more mindfully. You live also more consciously with the mode of sattva, which I didn't mention in the first insight. Sattva based on the principle of lucidity and goodness. You remember from previous satsang, we talk about the triguna. Triguna are three quality, three principles. They're like a universal law that govern the cosmos, and then we rule by those. And sattva is the most precious one because it's when we become more lucid. And we live, everything we do is with the mode of sattva, based on the principle of goodness and lucidity. That means with mindfulness, with awareness and consciousness. So for the first insight, we said, yes, love is our true nature. And how we manage our own being is through the mode of sattva. So is in the second insight as well. How you transform your own energy through sadhana, through meditation, through walking, mindful meditation, mindful practices, what you eat, what you drink, that is also based on high frequency energy. You could look at it that way too. By the way, there are many satsangs on those subjects. You can look at the playlist and you will get a lot more insight about the yogic tradition, because when we look at those 7 insights for love relationship, I'm speaking in terms of going through the wisdom, timeless wisdom of the yogic tradition. You could say yogic wisdom. So the third one is love is like a divine garden. So if you look at it, okay, I'm a divine alchemist, I'm a gardener. This is my divine garden. Your relationship is your divine garden. So gardening is all about growing, right? You want your relationship to blossom, to grow. Because the satsang is all about how to heal, how to grow, and how to blossom in your relationship so you find fulfillment, happiness, joy, and even bliss. And both of you are growing together on the spiritual path. So again, it goes back to the first insight or the second insight. How do you manage your own biochemistry? Are you more compulsive? What are your thoughts? What are your volition? What are your words? Are you mindful of your energy and your action? How you go about in your relationship. So to bring about the right amount of interdependency, the right compassion, speaking with loving compassion and deep lessening. Make sure there is deep understanding between the two of you. All of these are nutrients. It's like the sun, the right amount of sun, the right amount of soil, rich soil, so that the garden just blossoms. So how are you, your action, how are you talking to your beloved? And see this relationship that is your beloved and how you nurture it, like you nurture flowers into your garden, the right amount of protection against the element. And so, which lead us to the fourth insight. And that one is a very tricky one because a lot of people don't know they are in codependency relationship. That one's about interdependency versus codependency. And the codependency is the malady of our era. It is so rampant all around the world. Codependency is a maladaptive learned behavior from codependency, dysfunctional family where you grow up with a lot of fighting. You did not know how to cope with in your family of origin with your parents. And you were mistreated, maybe abused, verbally abused, maybe physically abused, emotionally and physically abused. And so you grow up and you have a maladaptive behavior. You have developed negative energy habit. And so you behave in a certain way where you live through this other person mentally and emotionally. Remember, when you learn how to transcend your panic body, you also learn how to transcend your mental body. But this is not enough if you're not in sadhana, doing practices, especially Kriya Yoga, working with the life force energy to transmute your energy, because codependency is very detrimental in a relationship. And to heal the wound, often there is a I'm sure you heard of that term, wounded child. Not that you have a child inside, it's just the impression, the samskar, the karmic impression of that karma when you grew up as a child that you repress, that you carry this on in your subtle body and you bring it into your love relationship. And that is very detrimental because often those people come and press your button and trigger all those wounds, all those karmic impressions of your wounded child. And it can be extremely painful. So that needs to be healed at a very deep level. There is a video on that, on healing the wounded inner child, which will come up after this satsang. And another one also you must watch as well, The Secret to Genuine Love, why some relationship fell and why some win. And you click after the end of this satsang, and to look more deeply into what are the secret, why your relationship is failing. But let's focus now, let's take a moment. Is your relationship codependent? Are you behaving in a way where you live through your partner emotionally and mentally, where it engenders entanglement? Because this is where is the big danger. And you will see that in billions of relationships. I have seen it with so many of my followers, and they come and ask questions and we discuss, and we can see very clearly entanglement is there. Entanglement brings tremendous amount of suffering and pain unnecessarily. So what is entanglement? Entanglement means you have lost your own inner divine power. You are under the realm of someone else's power over, meaning this person is controlling you, manipulating you, playing with your string like puppet string. I've talked about that in previous satsang. That you want to cut those strings because they're not healthy. This is entanglement. Entanglement involves a lot of loss, suffering, misery, fight, conflicts, and dysfunction. And so take a moment, look at your relationship right now. Is your beloved in control or manipulating? Are they any neurotic behavior in your relationship? Is there codependency in your relationship? Because if there is codependency in your relationship, it's almost guaranteed there will be entanglement. And it's not true love. True love is based on unconditional love, not based on what are my needs. Controlling, manipulating a person to try to extract happiness and extract any drops of joy or anything that the other person wants to use you. So take a moment, look at your life. Are you entangled? You will know, because the benchmark would be is that you are really in pain in your relationship. You're suffering. You can come out of it. And to come out of it, the remedy is embark on the spiritual path. But first, write down in the comment section, ask yourself those questions. Are you suffering in your relationship unnecessary? Are you fighting all the time? Is someone controlling you? Write it down in the comment section. And so the remedy, beloved, is you embark, or if you are already on the spiritual path, you do more sadhana. Make sure you meditate. Make sure you bring about mindful practices. And we do have a series on mindful practices on our channel. It will come up also at the end. If for some reason you miss it, you can go in the playlist under mindfulness. There are really great, empowering yogic practices there that you can take on, and which will also change your energy, help transcend your mental body and your pranic body. Yogic practices. So which lead us to the fifth one. And I call this fifth insightful secret, which most people don't know about that one because they are unusual. As I said, I'm looking through the eye of timeless wisdom, my own life experience as a yogini, as a mystic, and also through the eye of the yogic tradition, yogic wisdom. So the fifth one is, I call it not seeing me syndrome. Not seeing me syndrome. Does it ring the bell? Meaning, you know, relationship, love relationship. This is what we're talking about, because those are the most intimate one. But remember, all of this can be applicable to any other relationship too. Not seeing me syndrome is you are in a relationship where you feel like the other person is not seeing you, is not hearing you. You are not, your needs are not met, and you feel lonely. You feel like you're having a relationship by yourself. Basically, the other person is always too busy, never there for you. They don't pay attention to you at all. And they are incredibly busy. They're like roommate, basically. And maybe you feel used, or so the question is, you need to ask yourself, is that coming from a low self-esteem in yourself, a low self-confidence, a low self-worth? That could be, or a lack of confidence, as I said, but which bring insecurity within yourself. Or do you have unrealistic expectation from your partner, or you completely in illusion? You have high expectation and they're unrealistic. All of those things, you need to take a moment and look and do self-reflection. Why do you feel you're unseen? Is it because of you? Most of the time, yes. Because who is responsible in the relationship? Always us. All the time. The other person needs to be responsible for their action, their words, their thought, their volition, and their energy. But we, in our relationship, we need to be responsible. Because what happened, beloved, when you do attend, you heal the wounds of the past. You live in the mode of sattva, of mindfulness, of lucidity, of consciousness. You are doing sadhana and you attending to all of this to transcend your emotional body and your mental body, then it changed the dynamics of the relationship. It's inevitable. Your aura, your energy, your subtle body, your whole blossoming of your being, you become more joyous, you become happier. And you know what happened? It's like if you are emanating such a fragrance, like think of the bees. They are drawn to the nectar of honey. So that's the same thing. People, you will attract people. You will attract, because it changed the dynamics in your relationship. And it's inevitable. If you change and you're transforming your whole entire being and you're blossoming, your whole relationship will start changing. And it will change either for the very, very best, will revive your relationship and grow. Because if there is true love, deep love, unconditional love between the two, it's inevitable it will start reviving your relationship. And the worst case scenario is that you really blossoming, growing, and the other person is left behind and is not ready. And it could happen. I have seen certain couple where their karma were over. It was time to say goodbye and move on. And it could happen. You're the best person to decide that. After a while, you will see very clearly. And so let me give you a story of what it is the I'm not being seen syndrome. Here is baby Buddha, a woman who is in love with this Buddhist teacher, right? They've been together for over 18, 19 years. They never got married. They're just boyfriend and girlfriend, but they love each other very deeply. But the Buddhist teacher is very, very focused on his work, on his dharma. So busy, he doesn't really pay attention to the baby Buddha. This is a nickname. And baby Buddha has no life of her own. She does not have a profession, doesn't do the sadhana. She's really not truly on the spiritual path, committed, disciplined, doesn't work on transforming her energy and transcending her mental body. And no profession, no real community like a sangha where she can be attending to her own divine garden. And she's always grasping, very entangled with her boyfriend, wants to get married, wants so much attention from him, but he doesn't pay big attention to her because they're so entangled that she does not know how to talk to him. So she yells at him. They pick fight, and then she gives him the silent treatment. And for 5 days, 4 days, they don't talk to each other. Does it sound familiar to you? Is that your relationship? It's actually very common. Don't think you're the only one. It's very common. I hear it very often. This is a fictitious story, and in terms of the name, but it's a true story because it happened very often. And so baby Buddha, the more she grasps with entanglement, the more she wants attention, the more she yells and does not approach her boyfriend the right way, the more he doesn't pay attention to her. And the more he ignores her, and the more she loses because she's grasping even more instead of creating the opposite effect. So if she was working all the remedy we're talking about, then she would start transforming. And she would be very busy with her own life, be on the spiritual path, meditating every day, have many friends, have a fruitful profession, and be with a sangha in a loving community, coming to the Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang here on our channel, for example, and attending to satsang, doing daily sadhana, Our whole being will start transforming, our whole energy. And she would be so busy that she would not seek so much attention. You see? And she would not be so entangled with them. She would have addressed those deep need, the wound of why does she need so much attention? Why does she feel so insecure? And by the way, this is applicable not just for women. This is very common with women, but with men, I have seen it with many of my followers. So how do you remedy that? Is that you really need to focus on your divine garden. Everything we have talked about, mindful practices, doing sadhana regularly, I mean every day, coming to satsang regularly, and to address how do you manage your energy, your thoughts, your words, your evolution, your volition, your energy, and have a profession, something that is fulfilling for yourself. And always know that relationships are not absolute. It requires work. Work on yourself first, and then you will see the whole garden will blossom. And so, if you have entanglement in your relationship, if you're suffering unnecessary, and you need to look at deeply what it is. Maybe you are in an unhealthy relationship which involves narcissistic disorder, or maybe there is some psychotic behavior from your partner. I'm not a psychologist, it's not my realm, but you will know. And those are the things you need to look. But most importantly is your focus needs on your divine garden. And when you attend to that with awareness, you will have a lot of epiphany, a lot of realization, a lot of insight. And then you will know, and you will seek divine guidance, spiritual guidance, and you will have better epiphany and insight about what to do with your relationship. And as I said, for most relationships, you can revive them, you can grow them, grow your divine garden, but some of them, sometimes it's time to say goodbye. So now, two more, and the two last ones are extremely important, which bring us to most people are in domesticated relationship versus of being on a sacred divine love relationship. Okay, what is a domesticated relationship? There is no wrong or right here, beloved, just to make this very clear. Domesticated love relationship is, generally speaking, 99% probably of the population who are into a relationship where it's more contractual, more of a takeaway. What are my needs? Are my needs fulfilled? You know, it fulfills either a financial reason, a sexual reason, an emotional, mental purpose. It fulfills your needs, but truly, are you truly in a relationship? Because it's unconditional, because you are on the spiritual path, and both of you are working together towards enlightenment and liberation, and into blossoming and growing. So domesticated relationship is, what is it in for me? They can be very beautiful. That doesn't mean you don't grow in those kind of relationships. They're basically, you have babies together, and you have vacation together, you buy a house, you have the normal relationship that involve needs. How am I fulfilling this relationship? And most domesticated relationship, we would say those people are not on the spiritual path. They're not doing sadhana. Again, it is nothing is wrong with that. Everyone has different level or different rhythm to grow spiritually. the percentage of the population who are on the spiritual path is rather small, even though that percentage is changing today drastically, because there's such a phenomenal spiritual awakening happening right now. And beloved, don't wait until the day you are in such a deep depression, like I have been when I was much younger, over so many decades ago, to bring you to your need to realize, oh my God, this is really time for me to grow and blossom, and to really pay attention what's happening inside. Because for most of them in the domesticated relationship, those people don't really work on themselves so much. They're not on the spiritual path. So a sacred divine love relationship is when you both are on the spiritual path. It transcends all boundaries, age. So it doesn't matter. You are going through, piercing through all those limitations, those boundaries. Age difference, socioeconomic background, ethnic background, religious background. There is no boundaries in a sacred love relationship. What is so beautiful about is the dynamic of the two lovers create that unconditional love. It's based that purely energetic and mystical. It's the energy that is being created. It is so profound. It's, we could say almost, is otherworldly. And often in those sacred divine love relationship is someone from a past life that happened to this one in my life. It was not supposed to happen in this life, but it did. Being on fast forward movement in this lifetime, that you attract someone from a different lifetime where you deeply love, and that you made a promise to grow, to help each other, to embark together, to support each other, to, for mukti, you could say mukti or nirvana, to love each other unconditionally and break all those boundaries, and that you can finally free your spirit, your soul, for the highest. Well, we say to never reincarnate, we call it mukti, to be free for liberation. And those relationships are rare, but they can be possible. Even though you might not have the highest goal, but if both of you are on the spiritual path and you're working towards each other and helping each other, you can say you are in a sacred love, divine love relationship. And so make sure you click on that button at the end of this video, satsang, on the sacred love, and why some relationship win and succeed, and why some are failing. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and your family, even with your lover also. And make sure to click the like button. And so the last one, the last insight is the most important one, because it encompasses all the one we have talked about. And it's when both of you are aligned energetically, meaning your thoughts, your words, your action, your volition, and your energy, all align in one pointed focus. So one pointed focus means, okay, you know both of you want to live a life on the mode of sattva, that your life is sattvic, based on the principle of goodness, of lucidity. And you want to succeed in your relationship. So if one is focused on, okay, is struggling, is unhappy in the relationship, has a lot of emotional issue, and is constantly thinking of breaking up, and you are trying to revive the relationship, you healing, you are on the spiritual path, but the other person is not, then you're not aligned. You see what I'm saying? Both of you, your goals, your objective, in other words, needs to be aligned. So if the success of your relationship is your goal in every aspect, in your profession, but here it would be the success of your relationship, to revive it, to heal it, to nurture it, to grow it as a divine garden, then your energy, your thoughts, your words, your action would be, and your volition would be focused in one direction, one pointed direction. So if one is on the spiritual path, is growing rapidly and doing sadhana, spiritual practices, and the other one is not, then that clearly say that here you're not aligned. And the remedy is simple, is that you both have to really sit down and do deep listening, and to even show this video satsang and discuss, okay, why you're not aligned? How can you align all of those things and live your life based on this principle of sattva, that your life is more sattvic, so you can grow your divine garden and revive your relationship. And look at it, at all those remedies we talked into this divine satsang. How can you empower yourself with those remedies for both of you? Because if one does it and your partner, your beloved, doesn't, you're not going to succeed. And that's clearly, I have seen it over and over. It's not going to work. So, as we said, it takes two to tango, and you need to learn the right movement together. And it's not difficult to grow a divine garden. And you have all the remedy. Look into the different playlists here. We have a great playlist on guided meditation and meditation. There are several yogic practices, so you could sit down and start meditating together. And do this satsang again together. Make sure you're both aligned together in all those different insights we have talked about. How together you can grow your divine garden within your own being, and both of you together as a successful couple. And if one is deeply wounded as an wounded inner child, or as compulsive behavior disorder, this is something, it's time to heal and look into this. So hopefully this was very useful and brought new awareness. Write down in your comment section what we discussed. What is the most insightful secret here that really feel like it resonate with you? Say, oh my God, Devi Mayi Ma, this one really opened up an eye on my relationship. I am suffering unnecessarily. And when it comes to that so-called I'm not being seen syndrome, it can definitely be also that you have all those good things going on for you, but your partner is really not paying attention to you and not giving you attention. And that, you need to address that too in deep listening and growing your divine garden. That doesn't mean necessarily it's just you. Sometimes it's both. And that's why the two of you need to grow with those remedy and address that. So write down in the comment section and ask a question. What is it for you that you feel like you need to start implementing right now in your love relationship? What about in other relationship? Is there something that has been triggered in you? Do you see codependency? Or do you see something that needs to be healed inside of you? Or Are you entangled very badly with your lover and you feel like there's abuse? Write it in the comment section. I'm here for you, and make sure to click on those playlists. Empower yourself. You got all the remedy, you have all the support, and you have spiritual guidance, and go deeper into your own being, into your own inner shrine. And I send you a wave of divine love, grace, and blessing, and I'm always there for you. And I want to see you blossom and come back again on this video and share in our community your progress. Because as a community, loving community, when you write your question, you write your comment, you have no idea how you're helping someone else.